Welcome to another episode of Game Dev Unchained, the #1 game development podcast about game development and the lifestyle thereof. I am your host, Brandon Pham, and with me, you know it, you're waiting for it, you've been asking for it, Ray Grant. How are you doing, Ray?
You absolutely have not been asking for it. But what's up? What's up? I'm here.
He's just being modest, guys. I know every month as you are looking at the end of the month and looking at your calendar, you're seeing all these crazy game news that just don't make sense, and you're just looking for your best two people to talk about it. Well, here it is. All right, this is your roundtable news episode. All right, let's jump right into it. Concord.
Oh wow!
So Concord, a little history. So they were, probably Monster had like this massive publishing deal, right? They were a studio made up of like ex-Bungie dudes, right? And they basically from the ground up developed 3 studios in one type of thing, right? Public Monster is kind of like the top tier, and they had 3 different studios making 3 different games. That is like the way to do things, especially in the pandemic, COVID, free for all, money everywhere type of thing, right? Everybody was doing that.
Share common resources, right? Like share HR and finance and all that kind of stuff, right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Never mind that it's hard making one game. Fuck it, let's make 3, right? But eventually, there were some issues or whatever, the rumor mill. But like Firewalk had a publishing deal with Sony. Sony outright just bought it. Bought the studios, bought the IP, continued to develop it, even before pre-announcement, right? So everybody was thinking, "Oh, this must be."
I didn't even know that. That's why you bought them.
I know all type of shit, right? And there was like, and so everyone was thinking, at least in the rumor mill, it was like, "Oh, it must be super dope." PlayStation at the top of their game, buying another studios outright, right? With that isn't Jade Raymond, right? it's like it was still pretty rare. So like Firewalk finally announced Concord, and it was DOA, right? Dude, yeah, it is, man. They had a beta test a few weeks ago, and 400 concurrent players, and like people were talking about like, man, the player roster looks like trash. I still think it does. Like the character design is crap, dude. Hey, really? The internet agrees. Wow. The gameplay itself.
Maybe you and the internet is dumb. But anyway, no, but
well, the fact of the matter is, no matter how it looks, it comes down to the gameplay. And the gameplay was just already going to a bloated market, which is hero-based shooters, right? And I would say this is probably the tail end of the hero-based shooters. Just too many, right? But it didn't deliver anything incredibly unique to really separate itself, right? It probably had a few good things like that we're used to, but nothing that really screamed out like, play this, right? And that was most of the complaint. Aside from the aesthetic, who cares, right? It could be just like you and I know. It could be just Unreal mannequins walking around. As long as it's good, people are forgiving, right? In terms of the art aesthetic, let's look at basically any game in Unreal Fortnite. So UEFN, right? People don't care about art as much, but it didn't help. Like on top of just bad gameplay, right? So I was just watching this going on. They haven't released it yet. Mark my words, it will, just judging by the lack of hype train, lack of interest, the beta players that were playing it, they were just like, yeah, it's cool, but there's nothing new, right? And they're charging $40 for it. It's like, these games are free, and there are better options out there, right? And that's a whole different matter. I think the whole idea of free to play killed any incentive, but like people don't pay or support unless it's a small indie dev. If it's indie dev charging $40, people are a lot more forgiving. So I want to support this team, right? But this is kind of like a AAA game charging $40, right? Maybe AA, just I don't know what the team size is, but I'm assuming it's a AAA type of budget game. Maybe not top tier Uncharted or whatever, right? But
I never
pretty expensive.
I would hear in a million years somebody say a AAA game does not deserve to get paid.
No,
I think that's the first time ever in history.
I think that we should return to that. I think free to play games and those type of like models are killing the industry. I hate it, right? And I think
you know who else? You know who else thinks that?
Who thinks that?
The devs at Firewall.
Yeah, but like I think it's because AAA games gamers are a lot savvier than usual. They know right away from day one if it's AAA over a small team, right? That's part of the news. That's part of the rollout. And it being AAA game, it's more scrutinized, right? I was like, you had all this infinite resource, and this is the best you could make, right? So that's the background. Before I give a deeper thoughts, throw it back to you.
Man.
What like do you see?
Deep disclaimer. I have not played it.
Yeah.
But I did.
Most people haven't.
See people playing it during the closed beta. I've seen some streamers playing it and influencers and stuff. And some of them had like some interesting takes on it.
Yeah.
Some of them had the same take, like another hero shooter. I look at it, I say, oh, another hero shooter. Like, no thanks, sir.
Yeah.
But I have no idea how the different characters play and what they bring to the gameplay. So I can't really judge the gameplay too tough. I think the number, people were saying the numbers were kind of low during the beta, but
super low.
It was a 400. It was more like 40,000 was the numbers I was seeing like at peak, right?
At peak, it died down really quickly though. After.
So, with all that said, right? Like, maybe another hero-based shooter. And what you said about the characters is kind of interesting because I actually thought the characters look really good. Like in terms of
quality
of rendering, they look really good.
The quality is there.
I'm not an artist. I can't really sit here and hate on like the
design is trash.
The design, I would say trash.
It's trash. It's a mix of Guardians of the Galaxy.
It's a Galaxy, yeah.
And then
a lot of Guardians of the Galaxy influence. Yes,
it's too much where it doesn't feel distinct enough, right? And Guardian Galaxy is a very hard artwork to pull off. The colorfulness,
like the big ass bubble robot. I think it looks kind of cool. And then there's like some Doctor Strange looking girl. Like some of this stuff looks pretty decent in terms of like just the characters look interesting. But but it's not like knocking my socks off, right?
Yeah.
But the quality is like pretty top notch. The art is like high quality.
The artists have technical skills, right? I would say this has more problems with the art direction, right? This falls steeply on the lead character artist and the art director, because to me, like that Guardian of the Galaxy color scheme is very hard to pull off. And the problem is like these characters don't look like they exist in the same universe, right? The robot especially, it feels like a lot of like Japanese influence, like Metal Slug, right? But then it's standing next to all these other characters. Like, where did this come from?
There's nothing to unify them all together. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, definitely. I get that. Yeah.
So that's just bad art direction. And if you're calling yourself a hero-based shooter, bro, your hero's got to be badass. Like, where's the incentive for me to invest into this guy? You know what I mean? I think the closest that I see that maybe what it's trying for is like Apex Legends, right? So like if I look at that roster and look at this roster, I can see where they're trying to shoot for. But you look at Apex Legends, it's like, bam, across the board, like top notch. There's a story. I don't even know the story of these characters, but I can see it, and so like the lackluster of that, unfortunately, even though it's technically a beautiful game, but it feels soulless is the best way I can describe it, right? It just feels very generic. Because I feel like it's a mix of like they're trying to do the Valorant thing, right? But the Valorant thing purposely is restricted with minimum spec, and then it has the Riot aesthetic. Although it's Valorant's a new license, they have a lot of like artistic transferring from the other game. All right, dude. Oh man, my brain has been kind of like not there, especially late at nights when we record this or early in the morning, but. I don't know if you heard of Magic Mind.
No.
It's like a nootropic drink. You take a shot. My wife has been taking it. She has a lot of brain fog, and it's kind of been boosting just a good drink in the morning to boost her system, and she's been able to kind of talk faster, be able to operate quicker, and it's like one of those. I equate it to like when you go to Jamba Juice and you take those grass shots, right? When it was popular, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So
I'm actually taking some like turmeric shots right now. So
yeah.
Similar to that, right?
Yeah. So Magic Mind has a bunch of those natural ingredients, and it gives you like kind of that boost. And thankfully they've been a kind partner for the podcast, and it's been actually helping my wife a lot as part of her like daily regimen. I should send you some, man.
You got to hook me up.
I'll sneak some in the airport, and when I fly over there in San Francisco.
All right.
So here's the deal. You can try Magic Mind for yourself. Go to magicmind.com/devunchained20. magicmind.com/devunchained20. Use my code to get you up to 48% off your first subscription or 20% off one-time purchases with this code devunchained20, devunchained 20. I highly recommend the 30 pack for the best value, and just try it. Once you try Magic Mind, I'm pretty sure you're going to feel the same as me, that it's just this amazing boost to help with your daily game dev endeavors. So like I think it seems to me like the core group of this team were a fan of Valorant, Overwatch, and Apex Legends, and it's like when you see that,
it's all three of those games.
Yeah, when you see that, obviously where the inspiration's from. I mean, obviously,
well, you named the three
that looks
character shooters, right?
Yeah,
those are all.
And then they saw Guardians of the Galaxy 3 over the weekend, and then it's like, let's go with this color. That's what I saw. It's like you can't make it that obvious, where you get your inspiration from. You got to go 2-3 steps further than that. But then at the end of the day, like I said, and I kind of mentioned at the beginning, it all comes down to the gameplay, right? And it's just nothing special. Just nothing special about the gameplay. And I think what really made it worse is that the developers weren't receptive to the criticism, right? They were instantly shooting down, at least on X and just the publications thereafter. They were very like, well, don't sleep on us. You'll see, once the beta comes out. It's like, that's not the best way to respond to it.
No, well, I mean, you have to have some sort of faith in what you're doing, right? And I do think they're probably they're probably continuing to work on it, continuing to refine things, right? And they will continue to do that after the game's out, even, right? So like there's that's that one aspect of it. Is like, let's see how responsive they are when the data comes in, right? Can they turn things around?
My prediction is 6 months they will be announcing a studio closure.
Potentially, although Sony doesn't necessarily need to cut bait that quickly, right? If they're fully owned by Sony and everything, right? So Sony could just take the L and be like, you have one more chance, or something like that, right?
I think maybe.
But in this economy, yeah,
that's what I mean. If it wasn't this economy, I would believe in that. But you don't know what studios and how they react anymore. I mean, they might just cut the losses, like you said.
It's hard to say. On. Yeah, it really depends on like what that initial sell-in is, right? And the fact that it's not free to play. So back on that subject, and they have the nerve to ask for money for it. Yeah, because like those initial sales are going to really dictate, is this thing profitable or not, right? And of course, when it's not, with all the things you've said, and it's a $40 price tag, it makes it harder to justify that. But we'll see. They're not asking for like a whole lot of money either. It's not like super expensive. It's like $40. So it's in that range of like, mid-tier price tag. Yeah.
It's unfortunately it's following a string of AAA major flops.
Well, one of the
currently.
crazy thing about it, it requires a PlayStation Network account, which is another problem on PC.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't learn from that. I mean, Helldivers 2 kind of nosedive after Sony
Well,
forced
yeah, yeah,
that.
like, but the thing with Helldivers, it was kind of like a bait and switch kind of thing where they
Yeah.
switched it in the middle,
Middle
right?
of it being popular. Yeah.
But new games coming out, they can easily say, "Hey, it requires this," right? Because that's just what it is. It's a new game that comes out, and this is the requirements, right?
Yeah.
But switching the requirements after people have paid for it
Yeah.
is a little bit more of a problem.
Well, I mean, you're introducing a game that nobody wants to play, but you're also, creating another wall barrier in front of us. Like, you know what? This is too much for it at this time. I don't want to.
I'll just Sony wants to become up, like they want to become the free to play co-op shooter platform, and so they want to capture that audience on their platform, right? And their platform is PlayStation Network, and it will also help them raise revenue. Like, it's all business moves, right? But then of course people on PC are like, bro, right? You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to pay for Xbox Live to play Windows games online. Why do I have to pay for PlayStation Network, right? But it's well within Sony's rights to do whatever the hell they want and see if it works. And if it doesn't work, they'll adjust.
The only thing that I feel, this kind of adds on to like the, Xbox has its own problem, but like PlayStation's priority since kind of like grabbing a share of Bungie is to create an online gaming presence, right? Helldivers 2 was like a lucky thing, right? They didn't plan for that, didn't anticipate that. Obviously, they want to duplicate that on purpose going forward. But like to hear Firewalk Studios and their biggest effort since that initiative is basically a fail again. After Last of Us, online got canceled. This pathway seems to be a lot more difficult than they anticipated. It seems.
What do we always say, man? We say it to students we teach. We say it to people that are not in the industry. Making video games is hard, yo. Super hard. And it's hard for all of these reasons, right? Like you try to find a hit, and nobody knows what makes a hit. We just know kind of something. Some of these things are similar, and we just hope for the best, right? And we're competing for attention and competing against movies and other games and like the economy and everything and people's time, and we're trying to get people to buy your thing and make your thing the hot thing, right? It's hard, and I think Sony, like from when they bought Bungie, that was their intent. They're like, we're building a free to play co-op shooter online presence, right? Because they have really none. Right. And what's really shocking to me is like, I don't know why they didn't just like straight up just make SOCOM.
Oh yeah.
Right. Like that's what's puzzling. Game. That's the most puzzling thing to me, right? I don't understand why they just didn't go into the knapsack of like old PlayStation shooters Classics, and just do a free to play SOCOM. And just be done with it, right? But they're trying different things, right? And the Last of Us devs were like, nah, this ain't us. And Bungie that's definitely in Bungie's wheelhouse. So we'll see what happens after what's after Destiny, right? Firewalk is another example, and Helldivers 2 was a huge success. But then, audiences are fickle. They'll move off of these things onto something else. So it's like you have to keep that wheel going, right?
Yeah, that's why I was commenting earlier how disappointing to hear Firewalk devs responding to this criticism. It just like paints that narrative again that these bigger studios are super out of touch with their core audience. I feel like more than ever now, because I'm seeing like this shift with like the smaller teams killing it. And being like hand in hand with their core audience, getting early access, getting the game, and really listening to the concerns and then reacting to that. I think No Man's Sky probably began really that shift. into involving their core game player base. And Firewalk again is just creating that gap even further by the immediate responses. Like, you guys don't know what you guys are talking about. Like, to ignore that, like it takes, I never comment, right? And when I do is to poke fun, and it's rare, right? Like, the people who do comment are the most passionate, vocal people. That it is a small minority. However, they do have weight, right? To some extent, to influence thought, and to ignore the initial wave of people that are actually downloading your freaking game and spending the time on the weekends to try it and give you any type of feedback, and for you to shoot them down, they'll double down, and it's like, fuck you too then. And so that's what I saw, that backlash. And it was also unnecessary. It was just like, it is a valid point. From the first launch trailer, right? People were already complaining about the aesthetic, right? That was the first thing out. It was like, Yawn Fest is like, this is the most unmotivated, hero based shooter ever. Is like another one. You know what I mean? That was all the comments from that first launch.
I think we're just tired of.
We're tired, but like, that's again, it's just like, you started the game design out of touch, and now they're saying you're out of touch.
Like, here's the thing: you say out of touch, right?
Yeah.
When they had the idea and started making the game, it was the hotness.
It was the hotness, right? Exactly. These left cycles are too long. Too long.
Yeah, by the time you come out, things change, right?
That's why it's more important for games, as soon as a year in, right, and it's ready to be playtesting in the office, you got to put it out there.
Early access, get it
earlier the better. Yeah, because as soon as like a paintbrush in Photoshop it's touching a texture, and like, no, that green color character is shit. I was like, oh, maybe we should switch. You'll know right away. It's like a filter change. It's like, it's important feedback, man. Like,
somebody else has said that they would take Killzone 2 multiplayer.
Oh yeah,
really, over
that's the bizarre thing.
And I'm like,
why not Killzone?
There's two things. Like I said, SOCOM. I think SOCOM's a little bit too much like Call of Duty, I guess. Yeah. Right, but Killzone's a little bit more fantastical, so like that'd be cooler. But still, like Guerrilla is not making another Killzone. You know what I mean?
No, but they have that license, right? I just go back to Killzone 2, that opening trailer that we first saw, that we thought, like, there's no way in hell PlayStation 2 can make this. Yeah. But like, now you can make that, right? It's like, make that, make it like that. And that'll be the most incredible shooter game ever. But like you said, Sony has so much IP in and it is a time for nostalgia. It is a shame that they're coming out with this crap, right? it's like I would
like, you're being a little harsh on.
No, man, I'm echoing the internet right now. All right, there's a reason why there's only 400 people playing that shit. It's just not good. It's a fail. All right. Is it paying the bills? No, it's a fail. All right. But like, speaking of which, I do want to say this, right? So moving on from that, we talked about like the legacy of Bungie, and particularly 343, who kind of took over Halo, and in hilarious Microsoft fashion, they're like, we don't want you to make Halo anymore. Did you see this? Right? To the 343.
Well, I don't think it's hilarious. I think that's smart.
It's such a, your whole studio was built around the idea of you like furthering this legacy of Halo.
And it's been years of them
failure. Yeah.
I wouldn't say failure, just not doing so great. Okay. Is what I would say, right? And like, there needs to be some new. If you want Halo to survive as an IP, that maybe somebody else should be doing it.
New vision, yeah. What is your biggest? Because I've never really been a huge Halo fan. I come from the PC side, so it never was okay. But I can at least differentiate, from Halo 3, maybe Halo 4, and then everything else after that, basically in 343's hand, started diluting the brand. Like I could tell, right?
Mm-hmm.
They were starting to lose the appealing aspect of Halo that made it great, and started to, I don't know, make it too like Call of Duty, right? I think that's when it started to really divide the player base, and they were just taking too long, right? I mean, obviously they were fucking up because they were taking like 5+ years. I mean, like literally a console comes out and you're not a launch title, right? I know Phil was pissed about that because that's how you move consoles, right? You get your number one brand on your console day one, and they couldn't deliver. And it was like, I think 2 years after that, when they finally released a Halo for that system, and it sucked, right? I think it was because people were making fun of the lighting too, right? It was just artistically behind, right? And it went through a whole bad PR, and like had to be redesigned from the ground up. The engine was not,
I would say
or something like that.
They basically just took more time to polish up the art, right?
Yeah.
But then when you hear about their development tools and
super band-aid,
and how hard it is to hire graphics engineers, how hard it is to hire engine programmers, and you have your custom engine with this bad interface that nobody likes to use, right?
Yeah.
And you're taking forever to make this thing. Like all of these things, it makes sense. Like what has happened, you know what I mean? With Halo, it kind of makes sense. But yeah.
But that's the flavor of AAA development that I was talking about. Like that's what like the Concord thing is. It's like as soon as your project is like 100 million plus, like developers walk around as if that's their money, dude. Like that's like my.
I'm pretty sure the Halo team is bigger than the Concord team.
Yeah, I know, but like it's that it's that like cockiness of being a bigger budget game and without proving anything, right? And some people walk around like these game developer conference with that badge. It's like, dude, you haven't done shit. But like, hey, I'm working on a huge game, right? And you know, obviously when it's a huge flop, the developer conference after that they don't prop it up as much. You notice that their badge is like kind of turned over. Yeah,
24 hour peak was 1,400.
Yeah,
and 2,388. So then you're talking, we're like sitting here bashing. Dude,
that's terrible.
What about Marvel Rivals?
Marvel Rivals actually, I think, had more positive feedback. I mean, first of all, we bash hero-based shooters, but people still play it. It is at the tail end of like dying, but the license of Marvels, right? License of Marvel is huge.
And let's just get to the point. Yeah, it says Marvel on it.
It says Marvel on it,
right.
And that is cool, right? And there are elements about it. It's like it's obviously very Overwatch, but like there's
the videos.
Yeah, but there's like a mix of Valorant in there too, right? So I mean. It's the
same
it's the same shit
gameplay.
Yes.
Yeah. It's Marvel though.
But it's Marvel.
Oh, I could play Spider-Man. Oh, word. Right.
Yeah.
Like, and it says something about the power of IP.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It really,
but like,
does.
I want to give credit to the developers. Like, this is like the best way to handle that IP. They did a really good job. Like, I looked at all the heroes and how they, I haven't played it, but it seems like the balancing is there where it doesn't feel too OP.
Got thousands of years. I'm exaggerating, obviously, but they have so much time of Marvel games.
Yes.
Character lore. Like I mean, it's hard to mess this up, right?
Right. So like I want to give at least credit of like, all right, that's a game. Yeah. Hero-based shooter, super crowded market. Here's a game like Concord, obviously not doing well. People saying sick of it. But then at the same time, Marvel Rivals, like people love it, right? The IP definitely helps, but the gameplay definitely looks better, right? I mean, yes, it's like it's the same-ish, but this is what people want. It's like, hey, it's familiar, but it's with Marvel. I'll check it out. But is it
same gameplay really? Like,
but
I can block you.
Is there a price?
Charge at you. I can teleport behind you. It's the same shit. right?
Yeah.
But it's just Marvel, right? And that says something, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But one big thing is what exactly? It's is it free to play or is it pay for?
I don't even know, man. I don't even know. I should check. I could check on Steam.
You see, Steam only said
Oh, it looks like it's free to play. I see no price tag.
And there you go.
But they didn't even say when it's coming out. But again, yeah, because it's the IP, right? I know everybody and their mother's gonna play it, and I know when I put up a $20 wolf skin, Hulk skin or whatever, a Wolverine skin, I know y'all buying it. Like I know that for a fact, right? Like that's
because those characters are badass, man.
You'll complain. You'd be like, "Oh man, I'm paying $20 for some Wolverine skin." Nah, and then you still buy it. You're gonna still buy that, right? And they know this, right? So
yeah, I mean, all you need to do is just look at Concord. I mean, we bashed it enough, but you look at the lineup; it just does not compare to any other hero-based shooter.
It's Marvel.
To any hero-based shooter. To any hero-based shooter. I mean, that's what I mean when it's bad design. It's just like you put it next to people like Apex, you look at Valorant, you look at Overwatch, you look at Marvels, which is unfair because obviously those characters are super fleshed out and iconic, right? And I mean, that's basically should tell that it's actually bad. That's what they should have done. You know, they should have like, hey, let's look at all these iconic games. Let's put our character next to theirs. It's like, can you tell? You know, it's like, yeah, you can tell. You know, he's like, just put it next to Street Fighter. Put it next to Tekken. You know, any fighting game. It's like, so to me, I feel like whoever designed these characters failed. Just basics of design, man. That's a sad thing. And you know what it could be too. Like, unfortunately, it just looks like I don't know. It's like I can't say that it wasn't like drawn out by a 2D character artist, you know? It feels like a 3D artist kind of like fucking around in ZBrush, right? And just render. You know what I mean? Like you can always tell when a 2D artist like really had all those years of training and design and inspiration to mess around in Photoshop versus a 3D artist, unless they're super good. But most of the cases, 3D artists had a very distinct way of doing things. And I've always kind of been able to like spot a little difference of just having that classic training of character design, right? But anyways, that's Concord. Whatever. Marvel Rivals looks awesome. It's free to play, and it's enough for me. Like, I'll try it out. You know, I might not stick with it. You know, I don't know how long it lasts. I might not have the lasting power of Valorant or Overwatch, but I'll try it out. And as a developer, that's the best you can hope for, right? Just at least try it out. Concord, no. So a decision has been made. But like,
I'm interested to see the release in 3 weeks, see what actually happens. But yeah. I've heard some complaints about it, and even I look at it, I'm like, meh.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what the people say.
All right. Yeah. Well, hopefully those guys get jobs after.
Oh wow.
Dude, hey man, that's just all I'm saying. They're releasing around September. Right?
3 weeks. 3 weeks. August,
all right.
August.
They have 3 months post-release to like make something happen. Right. I mean, you and I know that's already planned. They're doing that right now. Right. Whatever skins or post-release DLC, they're doing it right now. Right. So they're banking on that to kind of turn the momentum. Right. And it's Christmas. Right. All the decisions always are made. Let's see which game did well and which didn't. Well, do we want to give this team another chance?
That's interesting. All of their post-launch content will also be free.
They have to,
and they'll do season launches. Oh yeah, because they say, hey, pay us $40, right?
Yeah.
That's interesting. It's interesting.
Won't do anything. Because Marvel Rivals will release, right? You know, Wolverine for like $20. He's like, I'll buy $20. It's like people don't mind paying if it's justified. Now, that's the weird thing, right? So like we want to sit here and say like, hey, it's $40. That's why I'm not buying this game. I don't think so, man. Like all these indie games have proven this past year, like these smaller games like Helldivers and whatever, Pal Worlds, like people will pay if their friends are playing it, right? That's just the bottom line. And it's like, if my friends are playing it, I'm playing it. That's my weekend, right? That's it. So, I know they're trying to like create hype or get goodwill, but like the fact of the matter is your game and design is just not appealing. That's just it. There's nothing about it. Our time is finite, right? I'm going to probably rewatch Deadpool 1 and 2 before, what I mean? It's like after 2 hours, do I want to play this crap or I just want to rewatch and, my weekend's done, you know what I mean? That's what you're fighting with nowadays, right? You're fighting with content. It's just people don't want to spend
Deadpool Wolverine's very good, by the way.
I've been hearing that, yeah. I watched all Deadpool. I watched Logan, which I think is what you kind of need to kind of watch this. And I'm trying to catch up, with my wife to catch up with that before we go watch it. And we're still on Deadpool 1, man. I keep falling asleep. It's like I've seen it already, right? So, anyways,
it's not a requirement, but it helps. Yeah,
it helps. The one thing this past month I want to talk to you about, I sent you a few things on X, but like Microsoft, right? Seems Game Pass have issues, bro. It has right.
What did you send me about that? I don't even remember.
Well, I sent a bunch of articles saying that they had to raise the price, right? Their subscription have stalled the past year, right? It hit a peak, right? So now they're doing the Netflix thing before, where basically we got to still, meet our quarterly projections. So raise the price. It's like, you're not quite Netflix to do that yet, right? And I saw more. Obviously, people never like getting price hiked, right? But the response to this one seems a lot more louder than what a Netflix would do when they price hike. Like a lot of people are like saying straight up, "I'm canceling it." It's like it isn't justified yet. And I have to kind of agree to that, right? Because I think at the end of the day, like the Game Pass price is like how much is per year? Per year.
What is it per year? I don't even know. There's so many different tiers, but if you just say screw it, Game Pass Ultimate, right? Game Pass Ultimate is $19.99 a month. That's like $200 a year.
Increase of $3. Yeah. So $20. That's for 12. That's $240 a year, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot, man. It's a lot.
Well, a game is $70.
I get it, but it's not there yet.
A game is $70. Oh, a game is $70. Let's just be real here for a minute. One game is $70. You buy 4 of those, you play 4 of those. Boom. It pays for itself, right? Sure. And that's not even talking about all the indie games that are on there and all of that, right? So like I think people saying that it's not worth the price are tripping. Like straight up, right? Now
I think dollar for dollar, you're correct. Yes.
Yeah. Now we get into the interesting conversation around like Game Pass and all that, and it's the same. It's a conversation I think we've even had before, right? Where it's just not a sustainable business.
Yes.
Right. Because how else are you going to get more games? You have to pay more money for them. You have to make sure that the developers are covered because the developers don't want to give away their games for free. The developers want to make the money from the sales. So that you have to do some sort of guarantee amounts, right? And then you need to grow the user base. And then pretty soon you realize, wait, more money's going out than what's coming in. And then, okay, now we have to raise the price. And like, it's going to be a constant raising the price. I don't think it's sustainable for Netflix, but Netflix just at a much bigger scale, right?
Yeah, they had a head start.
Yeah, and you see like Netflix, not just with games, right? With in the movie side of things, and what does Netflix do? Okay, we can reach out into untapped markets, India, the continent of Africa, show Indian stuff, show African stuff, draw in more users revenue,
From
right?
over
To
there.
fund the whole thing, right? Oh, hey, we're doing deals with HBO and all these people, but then now they're asking for too much money.
Yeah.
What are we going to do? Well, we're just going to fund our own movies then,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And cut the cost down, right?
Yeah.
So everything they've done is about cutting costs down, and then what's the next thing they do? Oh, you guys think you could share passwords? Oh, word!
Yeah.
we're gonna crack down on that. And as soon as they crack down on that, you see the revenue jumped huge, right?
Yeah,
When they
yeah.
crack down on password sharing, right? So like both of those models is all about like just how do you maximize the users that you have and get the most money out of them. And so yeah, like the price gonna go up. You know what did Fat Joe say? Today's price is not yesterday's price, right? You know.
I think I agree to you mostly in terms of the business side and business strategy. That totally makes sense, right? But I think that the missing element is that the brand quality, right? Microsoft is kind of, it's not as fresh as it used to be, right? Whereas Netflix, when they did all those things, their content is king. I mean, they had like award-winning, awesome stuff. Yeah, right. So it's like, it's almost like unthinkable to have a TV and not have Netflix, right? They achieved that, so they are able to kind of mess around with the formula, and people are willing to, you know, go back to it, right?
I boot up Xbox app though.
Yeah,
and I see Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3.
Sure.
I'll play it right now. I
know. I mean, they've made
Flintlock
purchases, right? They made purchases.
Halo
they acquired. They made acquisition.
Hey, I could play Cricket 24, bro.
Yeah,
Cricket 24.
But I just
on here.
I think overall, just general sentiment, right? People don't get excited about Microsoft stuff. Like even Activision,
we said this already.
right. But even Activision now, technically a part of Microsoft. I'm willing to bet that if you talk to gamers, like, oh, you like Microsoft? They haven't been great. How about Call of Duty? I love Call of Duty, right? They still, you know, they don't have that.
People have been complaining about Activision quality for a while too.
Yes, it is. Whatever game that they acquired lately, right? It's going to take a few more years. We're still in the transitional phase of people accepting that these acquisitions are part of Microsoft, like branding, right? Like Microsoft branding versus Activision, Bethesda, right?
Black Ops 6 is coming this year, dude.
So what I'm saying is, like, it feels like more people are attributing a flop like Redfall or anything like a Tango Gameworks, you know, when they start doing stupid moves, and like all the bad things automatically to Microsoft. But then when good things like Call of Duty, you know, makes bonker numbers again, even though what people complain about quality or whatever, right? But like all these positive things, they don't exactly say Microsoft is killing it again, right? Whereas no, I like with PlayStation, it's very clear that it goes back to daddy, right? It goes back to daddy. PlayStation is always king. God of War is awesome. Hellblades 2, even though Sony kind of, you know, was ignoring that, but now they take credit for it, you know? So it's like, it's just weird. Like it's like customer sentiment. Just the people just want to shit on Microsoft at every opportunity.
It's not weird though, because for a long time there was no like Microsoft first party games are either not good or they were non-existent. Right.
They killed their own games. That's the thing. It's like under Microsoft control, their own game has gone to shit. Right. So although more people there are some standouts, right? Sure. And the one big standout, which is like arguably not even really a game. It's more like a way of life. Flight Sim. Yeah. Right. Flight Sim is crazy, right? That game's incredible, right? And didn't they kill that team too?
No, that team still exists. And then like Forza, and
they mess with that team too.
I mean, they mess with every team because they're trying to cut costs, right? But
that's what I mean.
But in terms of like when the games come out, though, those games are consistently good, right? Halo's been shaky, and then
Gears of War kind of disappeared.
And then I search for the next one, and I'm struggling to think of the next one, right? After that, right?
What's their big thing? Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, yeah, there isn't like the big tent pole. Starfield was supposed to be one of those big tent poles.
It kind
It didn't pan out that way, but
Yeah.
Starfield's some people like it. People like those games from Bethesda, so whatever. Hellblade 2, decent, looks great, but that's a niche game you can play like in a weekend, right? So yeah, and Flintlock is on Xbox, but that's kind of also been a flop, right? So yeah, like but Game Pass itself, with all the things that they've acquired and all of the indies they have on here, it's still the best deal in gaming. Like,
it's the best deal because we know for a fact that they're selling it at a loss, right? All those games,
it's not sustainable at all.
They're cannibalizing their own potential, basically. And I would say that beyond their games, like in terms of like ruining their brand, right? At the same time, they have Fallout, which is an amazing TV series, right? But like they, obviously Fallout 4 and the games kind of got a boost, right? But they didn't plan for that. They didn't maximize that commercially. They didn't like have Fallout packaging. You know what I mean? Like back at 2K, I always celebrate that fact. It's like 2K is always great. Yeah, I mean 2K has always been great at like really like taking advantage of like hype, right? But like with Fallout, it was like a surprise hit, which was stupid. It means like Xbox didn't understand what they had when they had it, and they give us something like that, which also tells me like they had nothing to do with it. And then you have something like the Halo TV series, right? That sucked, right? And kept on sucking, right? And I was like, then you look, this is under the same camp, and it's missing.
It's different.
Yeah, it's different. And Phil ain't Kevin Feige, right? It's like where's that guy with the vision
but
of your brand,
right? Like the Bethesda like Fallout TV show was announced like
way
so many years ago, right?
Sure.
And like they had that stuff already. Like Microsoft had nothing to do with that, like at all, right? You know what I mean? And so you see something that Microsoft has no influence on at all, and it was good. Right. And then the Halo TV series on Paramount Plus, whack, right? Wackalicious. And everybody's like, why am I seeing Master Chief's face like all the time? Right. Big argument about that show. Anyway. But
when he's iconically in his mask and helmet all the time. And it's like, well, it'll never work. Have you seen Mandalorian, dude? It's like
but there's no way to be confused.
Yeah.
There's no way to be confused because it just Microsoft had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, but at this point, this is what I'm saying. It's like, yo, you need to fire everybody on Microsoft. It's like this is as clear as day. You keep fumbling the shit that was great. Like that's like look at this last 10 years, right? Everything that was great is not great anymore, right? The Forza team, the Flight Simulator, the Gears of War, Halo, right?
It's all good. What are you talking about?
This last 10 years?
You named three very good things.
No, very good things, but what I'm saying is like they fucked with those teams in this tenure. Like this last 10 years. All right. They fucked with
money talks, right?
Yeah, but like what I'm saying is this management group who don't even know what is good and what they had in their hands with Fallout didn't maximize that commercial success in any way possible. They didn't package Fallout as like Fallout weekend, when the TV series comes out.
Let's stop right there.
Yeah.
The Fallout TV show, I'm going to make a hottest take on here right now. Okay. The Fallout TV show is better than the games have ever been. In their entire life.
Yeah.
Right. So now, don't take that as me saying that the world isn't great and that there isn't like a great world there to explore. Obviously there is, because they made a really good TV show out of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But those games are whack, right? Yeah. In a lot of ways, right? And technically sloppy, buggy, ugly, terrible art. Right. Like those games are rough around the edges, like heavy, right? Yeah. But then they took the world and they made a really great TV show out of it. Right.
Under the right direction.
Yeah. So there's that. right? Let's just make that blank statement, right? So it's hard to do those things, and also that Fallout TV show took like years. Like it took them a long time.
But like
They announced that like 10
I
years ago
know.
or something.
I'm not saying to make a Fallout game to release and coincide with the show, right? Yeah. There was like a natural boost of interest back into Fallout. Fallout 4 that weekend was selling really well on Steam, right?
Yeah. No.
Microsoft didn't plan that. It's like you didn't think that maybe the show and the package deal with Fallout that weekend with Steam or Humble Bundle or whatever the fuck, you know what I mean, would be a good marketing opportunity. You know what I mean? What are you guys doing? You know, all day at the office, you know, it's just like, I just feel like on the business side, they're failing, right? Oversight, management, they're failing. It's just complete fumbling over and over again. Right. And then like the thing that they are like fingerprints all over Halo. It's like one of those things like maybe this crowd, this group that you guys got running over there should not touch anything. You know what I mean? It's just like it's like if that is not a clear case for the CEO of Microsoft, is like, hey, stop. Right. And I think the first positive thing they did was 343 and say stop. Like they literally told us to stop making Halo, and we're gonna start hiring like outside help. No,
I'll say this, right. I think like the history or the track record of Xbox over these last 10 years has been like very spotty, and you could very well say, like y'all fumbled the bag, right? Fumble it like numerous times. I'll say the one
good
thing there, I think the strategy of Xbox Play Anywhere, Game Pass, xCloud, I think that strategy of finally paying attention to the PC as a gaming platform, like they fumbled that for decades, right? And then they finally came around and was
got that shit together.
Maybe we should like actually treat the PC like a gaming platform. Like all of that stuff is good decisions, right? But first party has been feeling it, like definitely feeling it pretty hard, right?
It's definitely a good turnaround for them to do at least one thing sort of right? The biggest problem, obviously, with that initiative is like, it's not making money. You know, it's taking a long time, and it will take a long time.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's all unsustainable entirely.
So what do you think is going to happen? Is it going to stop? Like I think I saw a thing today about Xbox 360 and people, because they're stopping services for that, or like online access to any games or something like that. And people were like, I bet you guys regret not buying CDs because they just
those days have passed. I think the buyers, like everybody's like, I'd rather own my games. And then cut to you see the chart for digital versus physical, and it's like it's crazy, right? And so now that I own it digitally, I own it. No, you don't. You're renting it, guys. And so what's the difference between that and all you can eat gaming on a gaming service? But what's going to happen though is the price is going to go up. Right. The price has to go up. Right. And then I think also like the whole notion of making hardware is dying. I don't think there's many console cycles left for that. I think that's going to be done pretty soon. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's why like Steam have always been the best, right? Obviously Valve has that issue. They just stop like, if Gabe wants to bounce, right? That's it. That's our library. But like, there's somehow more trust with Steam because they've been around for like 20.
You remember that rumor that was going around too, that like Microsoft had interest in buying Steam, and people were like
we talked about that. We were freaking out because that's the end of Steam, man. I have a lot of games on that. Like I know people would not like that. We talked.
I mean, that sounds like the absolute worst outcome ever, right?
But I mean, it's the Valve guys. The only thing I saw about Valve recently was they released data of like kind of like their employee retention right? How each of them basically get $1 million a month on average or something, or no, a year on average, right? Of course, there's only 200 people there, right? And the perks that they have as employees, it was incredible. It's like, we talk for years about like, oh man, how do we fix this like developer issue? Steam in the background have solved it, for their guys at least.
No.
Yeah.
Every problem that you could ever think of, ever imagine
has happened
is easily solved with money. Right. Right. Like if money's flowing, there's no problems. Bonuses are fat, right? You can get all the perks you want, right? You can have someone come into the office, give you massages, right? You have a nice fancy office. The office where Steam's at, it's a very nice office building.
Yeah.
Very, very nice. Like you get all these perks because the money's flowing. And then of course, like, why would you leave?
Yeah.
If you're in Steam making $1 million plus a year with all the bonuses and everything, where are you going?
Yeah. Where else?
No else. You know what I mean? You're chilling, right? And you're making good stuff that everybody around you, people in the industry, gamers, hold the company to a high regard. You know what I mean? Times are great when it's like that. And then when the bottom falls out of that, or then things go awry, and then we can't retain people because like the benefits are gone now, and the bonuses are not as great, and the pay is not as much, and like every problem you could imagine is solved by money.
But I don't think enough credit or study has been done on Valve, because they've always been quiet, right? I mean, they don't fall in the pitfalls of most of these other studios. Like even Blizzard right now is going through its problems. Riot even, right? They at some point decided not to go that route and to grow, substantially. They always remain small, and they've always been really humble with basically their success, right? They don't talk about it either, right? They don't like give GDC talks really about like why we the bomb.
You say they, but it's really like Gabe. Don't do
it's
that.
Just Gabe.
Like,
and there's something like I don't know. I wish like the small percentage of developers that are like that, like Valve, who are clearly, if not by now, are the leaders of the game industry, right? They started game studios and they made dope IPs and they made sequels of those dope IPs. And at some point, I was like, you know what? We need to solve this problem that we're having. And they created like that's a service, right?
I think you're
giving.
I think it all started out like that, and you're giving them a lot of credit. I think, right? Yeah. At the end of the day,
luck.
No, the Steam store, the amount of money that pours in from that.
Yeah,
it was like, why would we make video games? Right? Because like it just doesn't make financial sense to make video games if this thing over here is printing money literally, right?
Yeah.
And then some people say, oh, the cut is unfair and all this kind of stuff, right? But like exposure and whatever, right? But at the end of the day, they found a gold mine, and we're like, like then the amount of games they've made have steadily been like declining, or the time between when they do make a game has been declining, to the point where when they do make a game, it's great because like, hey, let's take 20 years to make this thing, right? Like, you know what I mean? And let's iterate until it's really good. But because they have infinite supply of money coming in, right?
Yeah.
And so like I think you give them a little bit, but the credit you should give is the fact that with the infinite supply of money coming in, they're not wasting it.
Yes.
Right. They're not growing crazy and growth above all else. They're not taking in crazy investors that just want to pump and dump the company. Right. And I think part of that is because of the Steam store being so profitable, they didn't need to do that.
Yeah.
And some other companies, they had to take in outside investors. They had to sell to Microsoft or whatever. Right. Because it's just not, like at the scale they were at, is just not sustainable,
Yeah.
or they need the extra security of like a bigger entity fitting some of the bills, you know? So yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like they should share some aspects of why. Obviously, not every studio can make their own Steam printing money type of thing, but a lot of their principles are kind of the same as like the smaller teams that have been seeing success the last year. It's like keep the team small, right?
Yep.
You know, work within your means, put it out there, right? Get feedback, right, and then use that to make the next game. Don't double the size, right? I mean, there's a lot of parallels of why Valve is successful that I feel like these smaller teams are tapping into, right? I just would love to kind of hear Gabe just like, yeah, you know, if I were to do this on a smaller scale, this is what I would do, right? Because this is how it worked for us. And I think he has a lot of wisdom. And by him just saying like I would never invest in games famously, right, or infamously many times, right, I would love him to talk more about that, you know, what his thoughts about
like everybody knows how risky it is to make video games, and we do it anyway because we love it, right?
We love it, but he does it in a way that like obviously can still be at least sustainable, right? I still wish that he would do more talks. It's like, dude, you're the leader. People can learn from this, you know. It's the industry that made you, essentially. Right? Give back a bit, you know. It's like I do summer Steam sales, isn't that? No, not more than that. It's just I just feel sales.
Like it's a marketing operation now at this point. You know, do some sales, get some money pumping in there. Give game developers a market to market to. It's to me it's hilarious too, because I remember when Steam was mandatory install.
Yeah, and people hated it
for Half-Life, and people didn't just hate it, man. People were like
denouncing
it. Yeah. And then the servers crashed. You couldn't even install it today, right? Because everybody was trying to log in to install it. I remember when everybody hated Steam, right? Hated digital storefronts. Yeah. And then now, like where we're at, you know, it's kind of crazy. Yeah, everybody wants to create their own digital storefront now, right?
Yeah, I think it's finally hitting a turning point. The same at time that Netflix and all their competitors are kind of backstepping from that business plan. It's like, oh yeah, we can't keep doing this. And so I'm seeing like bundle deals and all this stuff. I mean, aside from maybe Apple, Netflix they're the only two that are actually pretty good with it. All right, man. Well, that concludes the hour. I want to thank you for being on as always and giving your opinion and plenty of news, bashing with me. How do people find you then? Where you hang out now?
On Twitter. I'm still on Twitter.
There you go. See, I told you. There's nowhere else to go.
Yeah. I'm still there. I feel like I'm in an empty room with cobwebs, so I'm still there.
Whatever, dude.
No, a lot of people that I follow are just gone from there. Like, and there's some that I follow that are still there, but a lot are gone. Yeah, it's a lot different. So,
all right. Well, see you guys there. Have a good one.